All right, welcome to part 6. We have covered so much content and I'm excited to tell you about a lot of my winning strategies. These first two strategies, well, all of them really are not necessarily strategies specifically for first-time home buyers. They're really just strategies that we're seeing happen in this market. But the first two really aren't strategies. They are minimum expectations. And the first is you have to be pre-approved. And the second is you have to have all your cash ready to go for all those reasons that we discussed in the last couple segments, for cash needed during a transaction, at closing, and for your reserves. Before we get into these, I just want to tell you that I'm not necessarily advocating that all of these strategies are going to be the right thing for you to do. These are just strategies that we're seeing happen in the marketplace, and they're all played out for different reasons in each different transaction, and not necessarily a one size fits all. So work with your realtor to figure out for each property that you're planning on making an offer on, what strategy is going to work best for you. The first one I'll tell you about is obviously offering a little more than what the house is listed for. As simple as that. The next one could be a little more complicated. It's called an escalation clause. That means if the seller receives more than one offer and there's another offer that has better terms than what you as the buyer are offering, that you're willing to escalate your offer up to a certain point to make your offer more attractive for the seller. Typically, you'd put a cap on it. So say, for example, you put an offer in for a house for $100,000, but you will escalate up to $110,000. There's a lot that goes into doing an escalation clause. So again, talk to your realtor about it, but an escalation clause could be a winning choice if you're having a hard time getting a house under contract. The next one is an appraisal gap. What an appraisal gap is, say you offer that $110,000 offer price on a house, and maybe the house only appraises for $105,000. If you would have had a $3,000 appraisal gap, that's you committing to the seller that in the event that the house appraises short, less than the list price, you're willing to pay $3,000 above and beyond for the house outside of the appraisal. That doesn't mean the seller has to sell you the house for the appraisal price plus $3,000. It's just saying that you as a buyer are committing that you will pay that extra $3,000. Another thing that we're seeing is that people are waiving appraisals completely. Doesn't mean that an appraisal doesn't have to be done for the bank. It just means that the buyer is waiving the results of the appraisal. I still have a long list to share with you, so jump on over to part 7.